Hello, my name is Justin Decloux, and I'm here today with
Will Sloan.
And you're listening to the Important Cinema Club. And today, we are talking about the king of stunts, Hal Needham.
Hal Needham has a dual legacy, which, now that I think of it, is actually quite intertwined. On the one hand, he's maybe Hollywood's most important, or at least most famous and honored stunt performer.
As we talk about it, we should note that he's probably one of the most famous because he was also the most public facing as a stunt performer.
And his other legacy is Burt Reynolds' car crash movies. He directed them. Some of them were hugely popular, but most of them in their day were talked about in the same way that, people talk about Marvel movies right now. You look up the Siskel and Ebert reviews at the time, and every one of them.
Look at this disposable trash.
This is totally witless, 0 stars, negative stars, 1 trillion thumbs down for Cannonball Run, Cannonball Run 2, Stoker Race, and who could forget the big kahuna, Smokey and the Bandit.
Mm-hmm. Now, how was that received when it came out? I think it had middling reviews, right?
I mean, Smokey and the Bandit, which was, the trend-setting one, came out in 1977. It was the number 2 highest-grossing movie of the year, second only to a little movie called Star Wars.
Now we look at it, and it's just dumb, disposable trash.
I did have a feeling this week watching some of these Hal Needham movies. Is it just that old saying,
time makes whatever
politicians and ugly buildings, everything gets respectable if it lasts long enough? I'm watching some of these movies, some of which I think are good, some of which I think are bad.
Yes.
And even the bad
some of them are real bad.
Yeah. But even the real bad ones, though, I'm looking at, and it's like, I don't know, there's some fun stuff in here. Look at that car go through the air.
Yeah, as opposed to any modern movie where you're like, this big CG effect. Maybe they did some stunts, but it's not as clear-eyed as a Hal Needham movie. Here's the thing about the Hal Needham films, a thesis, if you will. They're fun because you can tell the people making it are having fun.
Yes.
No one making the blockbusters these days is having any joy in the act of putting these movies on screen.
So we're going to get back to those movies. First, just a little background on Hal Needham. Born in Memphis, Tennessee in 1931, raised in Arkansas and Missouri, served as a paratrooper in the Korean War, etc., etc. What's important, though, is he was the stunt double for Richard Boone on TV's Have Rocket Will Travel. He was mentored by John Wayne's stunt double, Chuck Robertson.
He has a filmography that is nothing but bangers almost.
Chinatown, The French Connection, Blazing Saddles.
Well, I was going to start with William Whitney's Paratroop Command.
Yeah.
Great movie. But also a lot of Sam Peckinpah films like Major Dundee. You also see him in big epics.
How the West Was Won, Little Big Man, McClintock with John Wayne.
And so, even if he just had that as his background, he should be, heralded as one of the guys. But if he only had that, we probably wouldn't be talking about him on this episode.
But that's absolutely true. But let's just linger on that for a little bit, because I'm just going to quote directly from his IMDb biography here. He invented and introduced to the film industry the air ram, the airbag, the car cannon turnover, the nitrogen racket, the jerk-off ratchet. That's what it says. The jerk-off. I invented that, actually.
Yeah, it's that machine from Burn After Reading.
Yeah.
But a little bit more early and destructive, if you will.
And the Shotmaker camera car to make stunts safer and yet more spectacular at the same time. Now, I just said that. I'm not double checking any of that. I'm not verifying any of that. What I do know is if he only invented or popularized 30% of that, that seems like a proud legacy.
I saw in a documentary that I watched that he was the first human being to test the airbag on a car, that when you crash, it explodes in your face.
Here are some other fun facts. Again, I'm not double checking this. I'm just delivering it because,
Print the legend.
Exactly, print the legend.
Wait, what's this? Was Hal Needham in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance as a stunt guy? He was.
Yeah. Well, the legend says that Hal Needham broke 56 bones, broke his back twice, punctured a lung, knocked out his front teeth, worked on 4,500 television episodes and 310 feature films as a stuntman, stunt coordinator, second unit director, or director.
And, what's this? He also lived with Burt Reynolds for 11 years. That sounds similar to a certain Tarantino movie that came out recently.
He is one of several obvious inspirations for Cliff Booth in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Tarantino himself was the one who presented Hal Needham with his Lifetime Achievement Oscar several years before he died.
And so Hal Needham, we're not talking about all the films that he did in stunts with. We're talking about the films he directed, the ones that he took the reins, and he made a kind of industry, if you will, of these types of like car crash pictures, stunt pictures. And he, right from the get-go, knocked it out of the park with Smokey and the Bandit, which I think that if you haven't seen it, it is not something that you're going to go watch. It's like, oh, I know what that is. No, thank you.
I'm actually not entirely sure about its status. This is a bit like that Pauline Kael quote where she said, how did Nixon win? I don't know anybody who voted for him. It's like, I know that everyone knows what Smokey and the Bandit is. Mm-hmm. Are people still watching it? Are they watching it in the red states still?
I think they are.
Okay.
I think that is undeniable. You just don't know anyone who would be interested in that particular film because it's representative of people that they would know.
Okay, and I'm happy. I hope people are still watching this movie.
We went to go see it many years ago because a Cineplex chain was showing it, and we're like, why not?
I think it was because Burt Reynolds just died.
That's why.
And so it was playing at Cineplex, and I enjoyed it then. And let me tell you, after watching it right after Cannonball Run, I enjoyed the hell out of it this time.
People need to be clear about this. This movie rules.
Oh, yeah.
It's like all the stuff in the ultimate form of these creatives, whether it be Burt or Hal, done in a way that's effective but small scale enough for you to be engaged with what's happening. One of the issues that happens later on in their films is there's no kind of structure or reason to exist. And oftentimes, and maybe this is why people like it, it feels just like jostling around with your pals. And because of that, you're like, well, I don't know these people. I'm not having fun with this.
Well, yeah, all these Burt Reynolds, Hal Needham car crash movies are trying to achieve a very particular tone, which is that they're both very frantic, action-packed, lots of spectacular stuff happening, but they're also relaxed and pleasant. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a difficult tone to pull off. I don't think Cannonball Run pulls it off. This one does. For a lot of reasons, not least because it's grounded in this Bugs Bunny, Yosemite Sam dynamic between Burt Reynolds, who's the Bugs Bunny figure, and Jackie Gleason, who's the Yosemite Sam.
And it should also be noted that there was a kind of proto version of this film that starred Burt Reynolds, White Lightning, which was a huge hit, which was a car crash movie that Hal Needham was the stunt coordinator for.
So there are two truck drivers. There's Bandit, played by Burt Reynolds, who is in peak Norm Macdonald's mode in this movie.
Does he have a big hat? Yes, he does.
He's got the mustache. He's got the smirk.
He does not look like a leather book, which will be the case that happens in 3 to 4 years.
There's him, and then there's his friend Snowman, another truck driver played by Jerry Reed, who has a big basset hound in his car. And the two of them are shaking and baking it because they're illegally transporting 400 cases of Coors beer from Texarkana to Atlanta.
Which would count as bootlegging because you're jumping over the state line.
And hot on their trail, many people are hot on their trail, but not least is Jackie Gleason as Sheriff Buford T. Justice, who's on his trail because somewhere along the way, Burt picks up Sally Field, who's a runaway bride. She's left her fiancé at the altar, and her fiancé is the son of this buffoonish sheriff. And so he's gonna get that damn bandit.
And that is the basic structural conceit of the film. It gets going right away. Burt gets the job. There's not even any kind of reason he needs the money. It's not like, oh, we need to make it by this time to save the orphanage or anything like that. He jumps in his car, he convinces his friend Jerry Reed to get going, and boom, they're off to the races.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, why is this movie so much better than Cannonball Run? Because
it's always in motion. That's pretty much why it is.
Yeah. So it's defined by a similar lack of stakes.
Mm-hmm. But there is always the tension of Burt is driving. He can be chased by cops at any time. And his job is that he distracts any cops so the truck can go by and they don't notice the truck.
I also think there's an important sense of escalating mania in this movie. Things get kind of more and more ridiculous, more and more action-packed as it goes along. As well, it's grounded in certain, I think, convincing relationships between the characters. So Burt and Jerry Reed have a nice, even though they're not actually in the same frame.
You feel like they're friends and that they have a long history together.
Yeah. Burt and Sally Field also.
I think Sally Field is a very important ingredient to this film because she has a naturalism that is very funny with Burt, who is more quippy and kind of like, I'm going to tell you the joke. Well, she seems almost off the cuff and ad-libbing through her dialogue scenes.
And the two of them are very sort of restrained with each other. They're both very different kind of screen presences, but they're united in this shared sense of this is all a joke.
And if you're getting worried of like, whoa, the Smokey and the Bandit film sounds a little too grounded, don't worry. Jackie Gleason is here to eat a sandwich on screen.
Yeah, and Jackie Gleason, who is like huge in this movie in every sense, you know, he's a massive presence here, and he's mugging up a storm, and it's totally ridiculous. I think he's the perfect counterpoint to Burt, who's so
cool and collected, and supposedly Burt hated like the few scenes he had with Jackie Gleason because he thought Jackie Gleason like blew him off the screen.
Well, I mean,
but this is the thing about Burt, right? And it's kind of the thing that, you know, was his kryptonite in his career. Is that he always wanted to be the cool guy. He wanted to be the guy on top.
He wanted to be the star. And so, like, when he made Boogie Nights, for instance, he was very uncomfortable.
Even though he is literally the star of that movie and he's the best thing in that film. But, like, if you look at Burt's career, it is littered with people going, Burt, I know you can do this role in, like, a million things. Where I think, like, Pretty Woman was offered to him. The Jack Nicholson role in terms of endearment. And he just turned them all down. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. And I think it's also kind of an unease with what he can do, even though he always wanted to be an actor. Like, he started a theater with like the money he made in 1979 because he wanted to be known as more than just like the car crash guy, but also he was afraid of stepping out of that car crash kind of bubble.
Now, the popular received wisdom is that the Hal Needham Burt Reynolds partnership, though initially fruitful, especially financially, eventually they fed each other's worst impulses. Like they enabled each other's most self-destructive artistic qualities.
There's a documentary you can watch called The Bandit that's kind of about the making of Smokey and the Bandit, but it's also about the relationship between Hal and Burt. And it makes very clear that like Hal was jealous of what Burt had. Like he wanted to be the star. He couldn't. Like you just look at the guy and, you know,
he doesn't have that.
He doesn't have that star quality. So there's some really interesting things. Like he got a publicist, so he showed up on a million talk shows to be the stunt guy doing a stunt. There was an action figure set you could get of him.
You know, and that's interesting because it gives some context for, if you look at like the Siskel and Ebert review of Stoker Race or a movie like that, or just any of the popular reviews at the time, they're all worded as if they were interventions to Burt Reynolds. Like, what are you doing wasting your talent? Get yourself away from Hal Needham, who's destroying you. Which, in retrospect, I don't know if that's really true.
I mean, early Burt Reynolds, have you ever seen like him on The Twilight Zone? He looks so much like Marlon Brando, it's kind of distracting.
Yeah.
And like he wanted to be one of those actors, but I don't think Burt would have been any kind of star if not for these particular types of pictures. Like he's good in stuff like Navajo Joe, the Sergio Corbucci film, where he plays an indigenous person.
But you know, all throughout the 80s, he was making so many bad movies.
Yeah, I mean that's to him. Right? He's not trying.
And when you compare Smokey and the Bandit to Rent-A-Cop or a movie like that, which is fucking terrible.
Yes.
You know, like there are subtle but important differences to his performance style in the latter movie, you know?
Like that he knows he's in a huge piece of garbage and he'd rather be anywhere else.
He's not smiling.
No,
you know?
He's not. There's tons of smiles in Smokey and the Bandit. And that kind of confection of it's light, it's moving. When the stunts happen, you're like, whoa! Which is like a textbook example of it's not the biggest stunt that matters. What matters is that you're invested in what's happening and the suspense that's created. Even if everything is just, you know, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Okay, so great stunt in this movie is when Burt and Sally Field are in the car and they're about to, like, nobody can get across the bridge. He's going to drive over the bridge. So Needham establishes the stakes by having the cops behind him say, don't worry, the bridge is out.
Yeah, he ain't going to get over that bridge.
They get over it, and you just know the next car isn't going to get over it. Or there's another scene later where it's like, there's a big truck, and you think, is Burt going to try to get under that truck? He can't drive under the truck. He doesn't. But then you just know, Jackie Gleason is going to try to drive under it. And I don't know, it's small things like that, just the way that Needham like establishes something, gets the hero out of it, and then gives the audience what they want. Yeah. That I think is quite skillful.
And like, this is present in this film. Now, does it appear in some of the other Needham pictures we're going to talk about? That is a little bit more up in the air, but I have another one that I watched again this week, Hooper.
So I love Hooper, and I watched it on an airplane about like 6 or 7 months ago. It just happened to be in the in-flight entertainment system. And when I was there, I almost like fucking smashed the screen apart. What a perfect airplane movie to watch.
Like Hal Needham making a film about stuntman is just so easy. And he does everything that you would want him to do, as well as there's a little bit of pathos as well as that, like the mentor figure for Burt Reynolds is like injured. He has a stroke. There's that relationship between him and Sally Field. She knows what he's doing, but is he going too far?
You know, Needham has always been regarded as a very like lowbrow director, but I think, you know, when he's at his best, you can say he's a populist director. You know, he made some very entertaining movies that spoke to universal concerns. And sorry, that sounds so pretentious to say, but it's true. Like this movie, the way that it, you know, deals with aging.
And like, what does it mean to do what you do if you reach that point that there's somebody under you that's going to come and take your job in this situation, and played by Jan Michael Vincent, to which I would say, just wait a few years. You won't have to worry about Jan Michael.
And then, you know, when you have other people in your life, what's your responsibility to them at a certain point? Like, what are the sacrifices you're willing to make for this code of yours? But then also the movie's just really fun. Like it's a really fast-paced movie with lots of stunts and jokes.
Yeah, and that is a perfect balance of Hooper as well as Smokey, is that like it can get silly, there can be a big bar fight. Number one, you love all the stunts that are happening in the bar fight. Number two, you can just come back and get involved in the stakes of, man, this Peter Bogdanovich director wants a big stunt. Are you going to be able to pull it off?
Right. So in this movie, Burt Reynolds plays Sonny Hooper, a veteran stuntman, you know, a guy in his late 30s, early 40s, has been around the block. His hairy but beautiful body is weathered with the scars of his work. But he knows no other life, and he wants to be the best still. And as you say, Jan Michael Vincent plays this young hotshot.
And I'm like squinting. I'm like, is Jan Michael Vincent supposed to be younger than Burt Reynolds?
Hooper is getting a lot of pressure from his girlfriend, played by Sally Field, whose father was, you know, a great stuntman, you know, Hooper's own mentor, played by Brian Keith. She's seen the way that the life can weigh down on you.
And Hooper, it doesn't really come at the end of the day with the decision of like, what is he going to do with his life? Is he going to destroy himself? And for people that need to understand that this film is made for me and Will. Number one, all about stunts. Love it.
Yeah.
Number two, Peter Bogdanovich figure as a dweeb that's the director of the film. Love that. And number three, Adam West is the biggest star in the world, playing himself in this film.
That's right. Burt Reynolds is Adam West's stunt double.
And Adam West is like, oh boy, Burt, I wish I was as cool as you.
Yeah, and I want to live in this reality where Adam West is a Burt Reynolds level star.
Starring in a Peter Bogdanovich movie.
That's an interesting like subcurrent of film history, movies with characters based on Peter Bogdanovich.
Yeah, this... in
Irreconcilable Differences. Starring Ryan O'Neal, another one of his leading men.
Star 70?
Star 80.
Yes. And is there... You made a list on Letterboxd.
There's The Other Side of the Wind.
Yeah,
and
right.
You can read Hollywood Ending as being based on Bogdanovich because they even name drop him at one point as like an example of, you know, an out of work, over the hill 70s Hollywood director.
And what's so funny about like... Kind of like Burt. They're like so hot in this moment. Peter Bogdanovich, unless you're a film nerd... gone.
Yeah.
Like, no one knows who he is. If I ask
sad but true.
If I asked my dad, like, hey, do you know who Peter Bogdanovich was? He'd be like, I don't know. Even though that, like, at the time that he was a teenager, he would have been on all the Tonight shows.
Yeah, he didn't have that issue of People magazine with Peter and Sybil on the cover.
Nope, he did not. Or was it the 2 weeks that they hosted the Tonight Show?
That's right, yeah.
Like, get Peter in here. We need the most charismatic man that we have. So Hooper, another great movie. Even though often treated as trash, I feel like it's one that's been more reclaimed. Even more than Smokey and the Bandit, because Smokey and the Bandit, it has such an ossified feel to it. When you hear the name, you're like, I know what that is.
I just think Hooper, it's still an underestimated movie though, because it has the patina of trash to it, and it wears that proudly.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, it loves all the stuff that is showing on screen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it can, you know, get emotional, whether it be the relationship between Sally Fields and Burt Reynolds, or, you know, Brian Keith and Burt Reynolds, and like, what does it mean to keep going?
Yeah, it's a movie with something on its mind, and it also, you know, says plainly what it's about, and it's really fun.
All right, now that we've done that, let's move on to the rest of this trash.
Well, listen, I think we're here because we wanted to talk about Cannonball Run, and can I just say, I'm just going to promise now that in the coming weeks, we will do a Patreon episode about Cannonball Run 2.
Yes.
And we'll watch it together.
Oh, yeah. I would have watched it if you didn't say, let's do a Patreon. I was like, all right. Because I wanted to see, how can you go lower than Cannonball Run?
Okay.
Like, what is the...
So, the plot of Cannonball Run, first of all,
We all know Cannonball.
Yeah.
Had you seen it before?
Yes, I had.
I had never seen it, I don't think.
I'm amazed.
Because of the
not
Jackie
Not
connection.
even Jackie.
I knew what Jackie did, and I think I saw that one clip where he throws a couple kicks at the end of the film.
Yeah, so Cannonball Run, well, it is an American-Hong Kong co-production, technically. Golden Harvest is one of the producers.
Well, I believe Golden Harvest owns the majority rights on it, because the remaster on the Blu-ray that I have has the Fortune Star logo at the beginning of it.
Oh, that's amazing. And this movie, again, was the 6th highest grossing film of 1981. So it was a huge hit.
And people like Roger Ebert were like, how dare they?
You know, 0 stars. Again, negative 25 stars for this movie. The obvious comparison is it's a mad world where it's a bunch of celebrities of various ages in a big car race for some goal. But really, I think it's more like Grown-Ups.
Yes. Man, watching this movie, though, it did make me wish that we could have movies like this with, like, you know, I want to say, like, in their late 50s stars, and not have it be like Grandma's Dinner Club or something like that. Like, can you believe? Like, all these stars in this movie, it never says, like, can you believe Dean Martin? Like, he looks pickled. It looks like he's going to keel over and die. It just expects you to accept it. Like, yeah, he's a star, right?
Well, again, it's like the Adam Sandler movies now, where, you know, when Burt Reynolds is the Adam Sandler figure, where he's like the affable host, and there are some current stars, there are some faded stars, there are some sort of, you know, up-and-comers, people they're trying to launch. Just this big, bizarre buffet of stars in this movie who don't fit together. And nobody's working very hard.
No.
And the attempt is to create something with good vibes. You know, I would say occasionally it succeeds.
I mean, every new aged face that appears in this film did bring a smile to mine. For example, Roger Moore playing himself.
The whole Roger... Okay, first of all, let me just say who's in this movie. Burt Reynolds, Roger Moore, Farrah Fawcett, Dom DeLuise, of course.
Yes.
Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr.
100-year-old Dean Martin.
Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Farr.
Hey, you skipped over Jack Elam.
The
old lazy-eyed Western character actor.
Valerie Perrine is in it briefly. Peter Fonda is in it briefly.
Michael Hoy of the Hoy Brothers is with Jackie Chan.
Yeah, and Jackie Chan, of course.
They aren't doing much in this movie, though.
And what's great is sometimes when you look up this movie on streaming now, the art is like Burt Reynolds next to Jackie Chan or something.
I don't think they share. They do share a scene, don't they? Like,
I mean, maybe. Well, there's a crowd scene at the end that everyone's in, and so you've got all these stars, and the movie's sort of going back and forth between them, and most of these stars are on a cross-country race for something.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter.
This is the most disappointing part about this movie. It's a race with almost no racing.
Yeah.
So basically what you get is just like skits that take place in or around cars.
Yes. And the jokes in this movie are awful.
The race does not start for like 45 minutes of a 90-minute movie.
So there are individual scenes, not even scenes, individual images that I enjoyed. So like there's a scene early on where Terry Bradshaw and his friend are driving. He gets something like covering his eyes, and so he drives onto a lawn, through a fence, and into a crowded swimming pool.
Like that.
Now that's good.
Now, any scene that ends with a car crash, I'm all there for it.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need to find some parking. Crash into the building.
But if it's a scene where, like, Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise are at a honky-tonk bar, and they're going up to, like, Adrienne Barbeau, and they're trying to flirt, that's, like, death.
Now, one of the weirdest things about this movie is the conflict of the race is mostly them being stopped by cops. Everyone gets stopped by cops in this movie. Every racer. There's only 40 minutes left of this movie.
Okay,
what is going on?
Unlike Smokey and the Bandit, there's no sense of urgency at all.
None at all.
And that's, I think, by design.
Yes, I don't think they care.
This
feels a real, like, made it up as we went along movie.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this last week. There is a commentary that you can listen to with Hal Needham, and he loved this movie. They recorded this commentary in the 2000s. It's him and I guess the writer of the movie or something. They're chuckling at the jokes. They're like, this movie still funny. You could still put this movie, you know, in theaters, and people would still laugh. He says that. And then when Jackie shows up, he said, I knew Jackie was going to be a star. I knew it.
Oh, I knew it. Even though that, like, he was probably foisted upon me by the producers of this film.
So typical of this movie is, you know, in the first scene when Jackie Chan is introduced, he's a Japanese racer.
Even though they're all speaking Cantonese.
Him and Michael Hoy.
Yeah.
He's introduced. He's on a Japanese talk show hosted by Johnny Yoon, who you may remember from a little movie called They Call Me Bruce.
I mean, we all know Johnny Yoon.
I almost said There Will Be Blood. He's talking.
I mean, people may still know him from They Still Call Me Bruce.
A beautiful film. But at one point, Johnny Yoon introduces him as Jackie Chan. He stars in Godzilla movies. And that's typical.
Yeah.
Like every time.
Don't you mean that every time they cut to Jackie Chan and Michael Hoy? Every single time.
But let's talk about the Roger Moore strand, too, because it took me almost the whole movie to figure out what was going on with this joke.
Like, you thought that he was just a James Bond-like character.
Yeah, because every time Roger Moore's on screen, there's a sort of ersatz James Bond theme. bird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So reminding you who he is. And the first scene is him with, I guess, his mother, who's calling him Seymour. And she says, "Why, Seymour, I wish you didn't go into acting. Why did you go into acting?" And throughout the whole movie, Roger Moore is saying things like, "Well, then I was in a syndicated television show that's quite popular. You can still see it on TV." And you're like, "Oh, like The Saint." Is he playing himself?
He is. They
and
do
then,
say Roger.
And then by the end of the movie, they're calling him Roger Moore. But
he also has a James Bond car that has oil slicks and ejection seats.
Yeah, and so I didn't understand.
I don't know. I like this joke. It's funny.
Okay, well, I'm glad you did.
Hal Needham is working on a higher level, I guess.
It's so fucking stupid that I thought there was something more complicated going on. Yeah.
And he just talks about himself every time you see him, and he does like James Bond things in the car with the random women that keep showing up in his car.
That's right.
That's the whole gag.
And he looks so old.
I mean, Dean Martin.
Dean Martin. So, first of all, you've got to appreciate a movie from 1981 that has Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. in it.
They popped open those crypts and they got those two actors to appear in this film.
I think they have a certain chemistry together.
Yeah, I mean, they've been together for so long. Dean Martin doesn't know
where he is.
Yeah.
I think Sammy is kind of bringing it.
Yeah, Sammy's definitely bringing it. Dean Martin, I mean, you probably couldn't get him to remember many lines.
But eventually, there's a race, which is just,
them driving.
No momentum, no accumulated chaos, just one scene after another. And then it ends with everybody converging in the desert. Peter Fonda is there with a bunch of bikers for some reason. Jackie throws a couple of kicks.
Yep, knocks Peter Fonda over.
And, when Jackie throws the kicks, it reminds me of, did you ever see that episode of Batman with Bruce Lee in it?
Yes, of
course.
Where
you'll see all those stuntmen giving the oldest, fattest punches, and then one guy who can really kick.
Yes, and the kicks are missing from a million miles away because they don't know how to shoot it.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, let's move on. It doesn't really matter. I'm surprised they didn't put Batman-style sound effects and pow, biff when the sequence happened.
But man, what you can't deny is this was the 6th highest grossing movie of 1981.
It ends kind of anticlimactically too, and it's like someone wins, it doesn't really matter, and they're like, yeah, who cares?
Oh, how'd you like the running gag with Dom DeLuise as Captain?
I mean, that's right up your alley. With what was it, Super Willie?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's Captain Chaos. Is this a reference to something?
No, well, I was trying to figure out because you would think that. Did Dom DeLuise do this on talk shows?
Yeah, I feel like this comes from somewhere else.
He would just dress as a superhero, and the gag was he was
Captain Chaos,
a silly man dressed as a superhero.
Even though at the end, Burt Reynolds beats him for being Captain Chaos.
It does seem like an abusive friendship.
Now, we need to say that Burt Reynolds does nothing in this film. He doesn't even drive.
Yeah.
He just sits on the passenger side yelling at Dom DeLuise. Most of the running time of the Burt Reynolds scenes is Jack Elam playing Dr. Van Helsing.
Oh my God, awful.
Just death the entire time.
What about that scene where the guy does the Nixon impression? Did that fly
that
by you? Yeah.
No. It's after they crashed the car.
It was so gratuitous, and I thought to myself, wait, Nixon hadn't even been president for 7 years at this point. It was so dated.
Listen, it doesn't. This plays at the drive-in. You're canoodling your girl or guy, and you're having fun watching these images play up on screen.
Yeah.
Looking every now and then when a car crash happens. This is where this film was meant to exist. 1981. And then after that, the drive-in dies. They go away.
Cannonball Run 2, not as successful as Cannonball Run 1.
Cannonball Run 2 is almost 2 hours long. It's an hour and 49 minutes.
Oh, more for me. Yum, yum, yum. Let's go.
Now, after Cannonball Run, Hal Needham you get the sense, lost. You would think that after this, he would be like, now he goes to the big time.
Well, he gets his blank check movie, which is 1982's Megaforce.
I don't think it's a blank check movie. I think that's also a Golden Harvest production where they're like,
shot in Hong Kong.
Yeah, we want to start it is such a dull movie. I know people love it. I did another podcast on it for No Such Thing as a Bad Movie. I've seen this movie multiple times. It's one of those films that you're like, how is this not fun? Hal Needham directing. It's a big sci-fi, comic book superhero thing. It's not fun because nothing happens in it. That's basically it. That's why it is not fun. And then you get Stroker Ace.
Hell yeah, that's what I was doing.
It was a Burt Reynolds, Laurie Anderson vehicle that nobody wanted. I watch it for this podcast. It's fine. It's not good, but it's not as bad as its reception would lead you to believe.
And this is sort of like the beginning of Bert's long slide in the 1980s. You know, one flop after another.
And then you get like Cannonball Run 2. And then you get Rad from 1986.
And this is a movie that's fondly remembered by many people. I had not seen it until today, but it is the great American BMX biking film.
Now, you say Great American. Really, I think it probably qualified for CanCon, like Canadian content.
Let's say the Great Western Hemisphere
there you go.
BMX
because they shot
film.
in Alberta.
Because obviously there's another great BMX biking film that came from Australia.
Oh yes, BMX Bandits, of course.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'd put this as number one.
I would put this as number one.
Really? Above BMX Bandits?
I have no nostalgia for Rad. I only watched it when Base Free Video got a copy of it. I love this movie, and I watched it again yesterday.
I like this movie. I'm fond towards this movie.
I think it does everything that you would want about a BMX movie that positions the world. This is what I love in these kind of like niche sports movies where like this sport is all anyone can talk about is BMX bikers. They have parades for BMX bikers.
It's an underdog sports movie about, a kid who is weighing, do I become the world's greatest BMX biker or do I take my SATs and go to college? His mother is played by Talia Shire, who also co-produced the film.
Wow.
It's a Talia film production, incredibly.
And Hal Needham definitely feels like someone gave him a call and said, hey, you want to do this? And he went, yeah, all right.
But in his pursuit of glory, he runs up against the evil president of the BMX Association, who is, corrupt and wants to
money
give the
corrupt.
prize.
It's a real speed racer, if you will.
Yeah, wants to give the prize to the other guy with the, silver spoon in his mouth. And so, it's an underdog sports movie where he has to work and work and work and work. And at the end, well, I'm not going to tell you what happens at the end, but you get a lot of BMX stunts and riding,
BMX dancing.
So yeah, I mean this is the scene.
Yeah, where there's a dance and they just like serenade each other with BMX moves in slow motion.
Yeah, doing cool wheelies and stuff. I mean there are lots of cool BMX scenes. The opening credits are a spectacular montage, beautifully shot.
Yeah, by Richard Leiterman, who is one of Canadians' best cinematographers. He shot all the Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movies, of course. How the West Was Fun.
He painted with light.
He also did, some lesser films like Frederick Wiseman's High School, the Canadian classic Going Down the Road, Wedding in White.
This is one of the greatest filmographies I've ever seen. I love this.
I've talked about it before, but like he was so kind of like on the cutting edge as a cinematographer. I have a book of interviews with him like in the 70s when probably at the time he was like, there's only going up from here. And it's like, oh no, Richard. I mean, he did shoot other films like Watchers, the TV movie It, the Halloween Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen movie. Wait, did he have anything later on? No. But Rad looks so good that you're like, why are you trying so hard for Rad?
But you've kind of downplayed Hal Needham's contribution to this.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it really, I don't know, the stunts in this movie are spectacular. It feels like a stuntman's film.
Well, this is the thing, right? Is that like, you feel that Hal got the concept of BMX and he went, what can you do? I want to show literally everything, to the point that like, the big opening, every gag a BMX bike can do, and you keep seeing more and more and more. And I think that as an underdog story, it works fairly well where, he keeps being put down by the big money man, and like the community has to, which are, not a big fan of his, hot dogging at first, come to love him, including the cop played by Terry Bradshaw.
And, he and his rival eventually have a sort of top Maverick and Goose-like
by the end.
reconciliation. Yeah.
And like the stunts, that last final sequence, that like track that they're on was so dangerous that the BMXers were like, we refuse to go do this until you fix it.
I did find the final like race sequence kind of hypnotic.
Yes.
Just bodies in motion.
It's got a lot of 80s tunes, montages.
Yeah.
I mean, the main actor, not really an actor, actually a gymnast that like competed, I think, at the Olympics.
I do think that this movie falls under the category of like a kitsch movie that you might watch to laugh at a little bit because that there's like the BMX dance scene that you do sort of get involved in actually.
Yeah, I mean,
despite yourself.
I had a blast with it. I had no, I didn't look down on it when it started. I just thought, it's probably not good.
Okay,
because of what it is.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm. And fucking sue me. It's Rad, and it's a BMX movie directed by Hal Needham. Listen, I did not go in with high expectations.
I did not either, but I go in with an open mind.
Well,
willing to be open into. Will, it's a safe space. You can say, this is a 5-star film for you. No one's going to make fun of you.
I recommend it. I think people are going to enjoy it.
I mean, if you want a BMX movie that's shot in the 80s, like, and you watch this, you're not going to be like, oh, it's boring, or like, it's offensive in specific ways. Like, all that, it's just shot well.
I just think, I would also just say, though, personally, to get back to our ranking of BMX movies, like BMX Bandits, for me, the chaos, the anarchy of that movie, as well as the beautiful Australian blue skies.
I'll take Alberta over those Australian blue skies any day of the week. I love, there's scenes where they're like, look at this beautiful country. And I'm like, Canada? Like, it's not, I know it's meant to be America, but it's not. Like, the rolling plains of Alberta, if you will. And I mean, the love interest, Lori Loughlin, a very decent woman, I will say, in this role, actually kind of grounds the more goofy non-actor performance of the main guy. I felt this time I was clocking too. I'm like, man, they're doing a lot of dialogue scenes where they're actually on bikes and they have to catch up with the car. I mean, Hal Needham, like, you wish that maybe he had jumped on more trends. He made another movie called Body Slam. People don't really like that one. That's about wrestling. So you could feel that he's like, what, like, thing do I kind of slot myself into that involves stunts in some ways?
But after Body Slam, his directorial efforts were largely limited to a run of 4 straight-to-TV Smokey and the Bandit legacy sequels, including Bandit Silver Angel. The love interest is Tracy Lords, so maybe you need to look into that.
I mean, it's probably bad.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, she's never made a bad film.
No, yeah, that's true.
To be clear.
Yes. Even though you can only start watching them from what is it, Happy Birthday, Tracy Lords?
Well, yeah, what was that one called? You know, the one legal one.
It is Happy Birthday, yes.
Yeah.
The one legal one.
Yeah.
Hal Needham, though, I don't think, like, he's been forgotten either, that if you look up Stuntman, Hal Needham's name will always come up to the top. But I think that watching these movies, what people need to realize is that, like, yeah, but he actually had craft. He was good at it. Look at those first two. Undeniable.
Yeah, there's a mixture in Smokey and the Bandit and Hooper especially of, like, the relaxed and the spectacular. A tension between those two forces. And the results are, I think, eternally charming.
You know, as Hal Needham would say, you put that up on screen now and, you know, it would still work. Hey, with Smokey and the Bandit and Hooper, yep, can't deny that.
Now, do we have any letters, Justin?
We do have letters. As per usual, you can send them to importantcinemaclubpodcast@gmail.com. Our first letter is from Kenny. He asks, it came up in the Discord, which you can join if you're a Patreon subscriber. So I was wondering your thoughts on Charles B. Pierce, director of The Town That Dreaded Sundown and the legend of, I always say it wrong, Boggy
Creek.
I'm particularly interested in the light myth-making he tried to build around himself, as no one seems to be able to confirm a story about him feeding Clint Eastwood the "Make My Day" line on the set of Sudden Impact. Granted, it's been a while since I've looked into that. Boggy Creek 2 was my introduction through MSD3K. This is Justin speaking. Terrible film, but very fun MSD3K episode. So it took a little while to get around to more serious work. Always enjoy, you fellas. Don't mean to be a bother. Not at all.
No, hey, you're not a bother. We have a letter segment just for this purpose.
Charles B. Pierce.
I've never seen a Charles B. Pierce film.
Holy shit. You never seen The Town That Dreaded Sundown?
I have not. I'm sorry.
So the thing
I apologize.
Wait. Let's take a step back. Have you not seen Boggy Creek 2?
Well, I've seen the MST3K.
Okay, yeah. So you haven't really seen.
Yeah.
The thing about Town That Dreaded Sundown is, like, structurally, it's very similar to something like The Blair Witch. The Legend of Boggy Creek is very similar to The Blair Witch in the way that it almost presents itself as a documentary. And The Town That Dreaded Sundown has that, like, regional, sweaty kind of, like, presence. What's really fascinating about, he mentions myth making in the remake, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, the movie, that came out like 10 years ago. The Town That Dreaded Sundown was real. And, like, Charles B. Pierce's son is a character in the movie played by an actor. And again, like Hal Needham, I think that we kind of had to be there to understand the drive and power that Charles B. Pierce had at the time. Have you never been interested in any of his films?
I've wanted to see The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I just haven't got to it because I've been too busy watching Cannonball Run 2 for the second time in my life.
Wait, no, but you haven't watched it for the second time yet. You're coming up soon.
Sorry, I meant Cannonball Run 1.
Yes.
Sorry, I guess I'm
How dare you confuse both of these movies?
I've never seen Cannonball Run 2.
Really? Not even for the Jackie?
Not even for the Jackie, even though Richard Keel is in it. And
I do love Richard Keel.
I do have a DVD of Cannonball Run 2 that I got in Toronto Chinatown that just has Jackie on the cover, which is great.
So I don't know if we have that much to say other than I really like his early films. I believe a family member distributes his movies on Blu-ray. and that they recently did like a 4K remaster of Bogey Creek, and that it hasn't been one that's been like snapped up by other distributors, and it's still in the family, if you will. I've never heard the story of him feeding Clint Eastwood the "Make My Day" line. Have you ever heard that before?
No.
But we are Cub reporters. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna drill down.
Yeah.
Speaking of like myths like that, you know that Cradle the Ball, Stroke the Shaft, Sylvester Stallone story?
Okay, so some context for people who don't know this. For years, an urban legend has been circulating that Sylvester Stallone, on one of his movies, possibly Driven, but possibly something else, went into his trailer. His microphone was still on, and anyone who was plugged into the microphone heard him say, "Cradle the balls, work the shaft."
Yes.
From some groupie who was in there.
Now, there's an article that just breaks it all down and kind of traces it, like it's all the way back Rambo times that this
has circulated.
I heard it from a sound guy on set in Toronto
who claims
that he heard it at Driven, but it goes that far back.
It's like Mandela effect.
Yes, but I like to say that we, in that article, the first link is our episode about it.
Because we called the episode Cradle the Balls,
Work the Shaft. Yes.
Where is that article? Where is it published?
Just search Cradle the Balls, Work the Shaft in Google, and it will be the first one. That maybe Sylvester Stallone, in case a bunch of pornography pops up.
You know, there is some poetic justice here because there's a rumor, a unsubstantiated rumor that has gone on for years that the Richard Gere gerbil story was started by Stallone.
Yes.
Because they worked together on Victory, was it?
No, it was something else, and that like was it Gere dropped some food on Stallone?
They didn't like each other.
Yes, but then it was just discovered that it was like some psycho had that story multiple times that he faxed to multiple people with different actors,
and it stuck.
It stuck with Richard Gere. Yeah,
right. Probably because it happened to him.
Yeah,
so
I think that we should. Is there any like? You're Richard Gere. If
It's
you tell
awful.
someone that's all that people know about you.
You know, I don't want to say it's all people know about him.
I think that,
but it's
if you say Richard Gere, oh, gerbil, right?
Yeah.
If people may not even know what we're talking about,
it's so unfair.
It's so unfair. Not linked to anything that he did. What if it was done by like? Was that around the time that he was doing? I don't know when that story escaped. The Tibet movie.
Oh.
And famously, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna shut this down." Studios.
I think it's before that.
Yeah, I think it was before that as well.
Because there's a Norm Macdonald Weekend Update bit
about the gerbil story.
Yeah, where it's something about a Richard Gere. The punchline is, "Hey, do you think that gerbil story is true?" And that's like 1996 or something. Okay. So it had already been circulating.
We're gonna dig down. Is that Make My Day story true? I'm gonna say no.
Success has 1,000 fathers.
Does it suck when you learn that like that story of the stunt guy that made Steven Seagal poop his pants?
Oh, that it wasn't real?
It's not real, no. He actually interviewed the guy, and he's like, yeah, it didn't actually happen. The story goes that Steven Seagal was being an asshole on one of his early films, and the stunt coordinator like did a move on him that made Seagal poop his pants.
Which was Gene LaBelle, I think. Gene LaBelle, yeah. And did he do a move on him, though? Like, what did he do to him?
I think he may have done a move. I don't remember. There's like an hour-long video you can find online about it that breaks it down. Yeah. The stories is never, like, all you want to hear is, yes, this happened. Print the legend, if you will.
Next, you're going to tell me that shadow in the background of The Wizard of Oz is not a munchkin who hung himself.
Yeah.
Wait. Or the ghost in 3 Men and a Baby.
Can we get some, like, new myths? This is all we got? Like, they're so lame.
I know.
And not good. You know, people, let us know. What are the great, like, other than the ones we meant, those are all the obvious ones. Are there other ones like that?
Yeah, let's get some good myths, and we'll bust them.
No! Our next letter is an interesting one, and I will say that you may not know who this filmmaker is, but I want to bring it up because I know who he is, and the letter writer points out some interesting things. So he goes, longtime listener and Patreon supporter of Michael and Us, and I very foolishly thought, I have too many podcasts to add another on the rotation and slept on Important Cinema Club for too damn long. I've learned, I've grown, and I absolutely love the show. Thank you very much.
Do you still listen to Michael and Us, though?
Listen, there's too many podcasts. You need to focus on the better ones.
Well, so what I would say is, like, the thought of people listening to both of my podcasts, all you people who do, I'm glad you do.
Yes.
You're helping me.
Like, that's too much will.
You're helping me pay my bills, so keep doing it. I wouldn't. But I live with me all the time, though.
Yeah. It's like a 24/7 podcast.
If I could turn me off, I would. Maybe I will.
All right, here, deep thought time. When you think, do you hear your voice in your head?
Whoa.
My wife asked me a couple weeks ago, she was like, do you like picture things in your head when you like think about things? And I was like, no, not really.
You don't picture things.
No, it's kind of more like an abstract thought.
What about a memory? Do you picture a memory?
It's so kind of like vague in my mind. It's not like a movie playing in front of my eyes. I remember once picking up a novel, and at the beginning, the author was like, oh, I hope this book plays like a movie in front of your eyes, like it does when I write it. And I was like, that's not how it works for me. So
Yeah, I would say, do I think in my voice? I think sometimes yes, but not all the time.
yeah, I think like it's a lot of abstract thoughts, and it's almost like a monotone kind of thing, as opposed to that classic episode of Seinfeld where George gets declared legally blind so he can get audiobooks, and they end up just being in his own voice. Yeah, when my voice in my head is more like, hello, this is Justin Decloux, like very smooth.
Yeah.
And
In my own head, I'm much more handsome.
So this letter writer asks, a common theme on the show is someone writes a letter wondering your thoughts on a filmmaker, only to learn you've already covered them. I scoured the internet to make sure this wouldn't happen to me, and I think I'm good asking your thoughts on Shane Meadows. His run of 8 features films from 1996 to 2009 have a steady rotation in my home year after year. Will is currently typing it up because I don't think you know who Shane Meadows.
No, I've never heard of Shane Meadows. I'm being so terrible on this episode.
So Shane Meadows is a filmmaker that was like kind of a Ben Wheatley guy in the early 2000s, where he had like Dead Man's Shoes, which starred Paddy Considine.
Oh yeah.
He also had This Is England, and he seemed to be like slowly making a almost mumblecore style, some comedic, some dramatic. There was like a weird British indie UK wave in the early 2000s. A lot of them were genre films, and Shane Meadows kind of got like pushed into that. As the letter writer points out, he launched a career of several actors Hollywood went on to ruin, use incorrectly, or in a limited capacity. He stayed entirely independent, aside from one film in 2002. Though I still think that film has chops and charm, it's Once Upon a Time in the Midlands. He was a festival darling in 2006 for This Is England, only to be almost immediately shunned by the same crowd when they learned of his past and his feelings on working with any studio. I don't think he was probably shunned for working because he hated working for a studio. I remember like some of the later films that he made, he like had a rule where he would only shoot them in like a couple of weeks. That like he had been crushed working on bigger productions and he just wanted to do little things. Being that the money simply just dried up after 2009 as far as film feature goes, he vanished almost as quickly as he arrived, and it's sad. He asked if we've seen them. I've seen some of them. I didn't like them that much, like Dead Man's Shoes, but I think it's because I went in with expectations of, oh, this is going to be like a vigilante film. Like that's how it was sold, when it was really more of like an indie, almost, deconstruction of what a vigilante film is. I haven't heard of his name in a long time. I think it's someone that we could revisit, especially in the way that he tried to evolve and then just disappeared. Like he must be working in television, right? Like you're looking at his IMDb right now, Will.
I'm looking at his Letterboxd.
Yeah. Has he have anything past like 2009?
No.
Maybe he's teaching. That's usually what happens. I'm looking here at his IMDb. He has just worked in television. Been like, not very much though. Mostly on This Is England projects. He directed a Liam Gallagher music video in 2017. So he's still around. If that Liam Gallagher one is any indication, he may be doing commercials and music videos now. And that's how he makes his monies. But something to revisit, if only because I was very aware of it at that time. Is there anyone in the early 2000s you remember like, they seem like a hot flash in the pan and then they just disappear? Sure. One director who still held on without making anything that anybody's watched, Tarsem. He had The Cell, The Fall, and then Immortals, 300 Exploitation, and Mirror Mirror, the other Snow White movie that came out with Snow White and the Huntsman.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a fan of him, but...
No, you don't need to be a fan.
But the space that Joe Swanberg occupied in the 2000s,
yes.
It's like he was everywhere for a little bit, by which I mean he was on every streaming app. Like, a lot of people were getting in on the Joe Swanberg business because it's like, what mumblecore? What does this represent? What is this for the future of movies? And I feel like I never hear about Joe Swanberg anymore.
He's still around.
Is he? What's he doing?
He moved to like Netflix stuff, and then he just
I remember he had the show Easy.
Yes.
And now maybe he'll be back with something. I don't know. But it was like he was making like 4 movies a year for a while.
Yeah, like he
was America's Hong Sang-soo.
There was a thing where...
But bad.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. Some good stuff.
We didn't have that on Mumblecore.
Yeah.
I think we were very fair.
Yeah.
But like he was so dominant for like 3 years,
I
and now
know.
it's just gone.
And because there are other people in the mumblecore world who I do like more than him.
You gonna say his name because I can never pronounce it correctly?
Who are you thinking of?
The director of Computer Chess and
Bujalski.
Yeah.
Or Adam Wingard made some good movies. Then
is it that Joe Swanberg, like his toolkit he couldn't turn into a big blockbuster director, and there's not enough money in just making little films?
I'm not sure what happened.
He's like driving around. I think they just opened like a video store or something that Joe Swanberg.
Oh, I did see that. I saw that on Instagram at some point. Yeah,
but he was like living out of a truck that was a video store. Like,
anyway, if anyone knows where Joe Swanberg is, just check on him and
make sure he's okay.
Yeah,
you don't need to let us know. We're good.
Yeah, okay.
But where are the other mumblecore, like the lower tier, like underneath Joe Swanberg guys? Where are they?
Well, they're everywhere. Everyone's a mumblecore filmmaker now.
Yeah, just on the TikToks and things like that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the letter. And if you want to send us more, it's importantcinemaclubpodcast@gmail.com.
Can I drop a couple plugs here?
Let's do it.
Our friend in the UK, Ben Nash, asked us to make mention that Evil Puddle, the new Matt Farley, Charles Roxburgh movie, is going to premiere in the UK on Friday, June 13th at the Horse Hospital.
Matt Farley and Charlie Roxburgh, the directors of Don't Let the Rubies Get You and a ton of other independent films, they are on fire right now. Their movies are playing everywhere. Matt Farley is touring, doing shows. Love to see it.
Evil Puddle is playing all sorts of places, including July 10th. There's going to be an LA premiere that my buddy Eddie is hosting.
Is Matt going to that too?
Matt's going to that.
Holy moly.
July 10th at the Lumiere Cinema.
He's going to be in the like platinum club for the airlines that he's flying around in.
Very exciting. I also just want to drop mention of 2 events of my own, if that's okay, everyone, if that's not too self-indulgent.
I'll allow it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. June 19th, I will be zooming in to the Spacey Micro Cinema in Dallas, Texas. Our friend of the show, Evan Gordon, who recently programmed your film, Impossible Horror.
Yep. Oh, that was so nice of him. What a great Q&A I was able to do afterwards, too.
He's programming Glenn or Glenda, and I'll be zooming in for a Q&A afterwards to talk about the movie. And I'll pretend I made it as well. So I'll drop some production anecdotes.
Did he get it from AGFA, the scan of it?
I think so.
Okay, yeah.
And then on July 25th, I will be in person in the beautiful city of Seattle at the Beacon Theater. I'm going to present a double feature of Night of the Ghouls and Take It Out in Trade, 2 sicko deep cut Ed Wood movies. And I'll be signing copies of my book if you want to get a coveted Will Sloan autograph.
Wait a minute. I didn't receive a check for playing the scan of Night of the Ghouls. I'm kidding. Go see it.
Oh, sorry. Revenge of the Dead. Revenge of the Dead is what we're playing.
Sorry, I was calling someone on the phone right now. I need to copyright strike, even though it's very not a real one.
It's a public domain movie.
It's a public domain movie. So that'll be a fun double bill.
Yeah.
And man, Will Sloan in the flesh.
I'm going to be in Seattle. I'm going to see...
Have you ever visited Seattle?
No,
yeah, you have.
I've never been to Seattle.
So, all right. Bruce Lee's grave.
Yes. Number 1.
Yeah.
I'll loiter outside the Something Weird video offices.
Scarecrow Video.
Of course,
Scarecrow
Scarecrow
Video.
Video.
Scarecrow Video.
I understand there are some Twin Peaks locations I should check out. And
wait. Take a step back. You still haven't watched Twin Peaks, have you?
I've seen the first season.
Okay, you've seen the first season.
And I should watch it again.
Yes, before you go.
And what else? You've been to Seattle.
Yeah, but I was with Emily and her mom, so it was like they brought me to Bruce Lee's grave, and then we went to Scarecrow Video, and that was pretty much it.
I heard from one of our listeners that John Saxon is buried near Bruce Lee, so that's
a much smaller grave.
Pretty exciting. I'll check him out too.
Well, I mean, that is a lot of fun. Yeah, what are the movie locations that Will needs to go down to when he's visiting Seattle? Beacon Theater. I'm jealous. I've always wanted it. That seems like an amazing place.
Well, if you want to come out,
no. Unless they're flying me down.
Yeah,
they're flying you, what, right? First class.
I don't know if it's first class.
What? They're flying you down? Wow.
Yeah, they're flying me down.
I mean, I've said it before. Me and Will were very available to go locations.
Justin, why don't you come and just claim it as a tax write-off?
No, it's fine. Just to see.
I'd love to have you there.
I know. It's all right.
You can sign my book too.
Hey, I'm in the special thanks.
He's in the special thanks, folks.
No, what I need to do is, when is that happening? June?
July 25th.
Okay. I just need to write a book fast enough so I can have a competing one that can come out during that period.
Oh, I wrote a book about Ed Wood too. Isn't that interesting?
Hey.
And it's even less expensive. Everyone should buy it.
No, what I need to do is, hey, Beacon, what a weekend. Ed Wood, Albert Pugh, the director's cut.
Guys, are you listening? Beacon Theater? I think you guys listed the show.
There you go. So, I mean, we have the guy who has the director's cut.
Or you should find another theater in the city and be like,
yes,
hey, guys.
At the exact same time as the Ed Wood screening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all that stuff is happening. Book your important cinema club calendars. Get your checklist so you can check them off like a comic book of like, oh, I've done all these events that they did this year.
Yeah, follow me around like fish. Go to Dallas, go to Seattle.
And when's your Ed Wood book coming out? If anybody else wants to book you, you're very available.
I'm very available.
LA, come on. Get Will back up there.
We're going to make LA happen. I believe in it.
All right. So next week, speaking of summer, it's a summer of fun. We're just having fun with these movies.
That's right.
Summer of fun.
We did Jacques Rivette last week, okay?
And we're like, all right, that covers us for 3 months.
So
right?
we gave you some art. Next week, we are really giving you some trash. This is because Justin and I have become just a little bit interested lately, just a little bit fascinated with the career of Howie Mandel.
Mm-hmm. And you may be asking, how are you fascinated by Howie Mandel? Well, number one, Canadian pride.
That's right.
Number two, he's a guy that's always been around. If people do not know, when me and Will were children, there was a Howie Mandel cartoon show.
Yeah, what was it called?
Bobby's World.
Bobby's World.
It lasted, I just checked before we recorded, 7 seasons.
And I saw it a lot because it was just on.
It played every day. Did that make me have enough, a love for Howie Mandel? No.
I
really liked it.
I saw it a lot, but was I looking for Bobby's World merch? No.
Yeah. But what we're really interested is Howie Mandel as a figure now who like really loves alt comedians.
Yeah. So this sparked.
We talked about it on Patreon.
Yeah,
that's where it came up.
This sparked in me really because I saw an interview that he did with Tim Heidecker on his podcast, where you can tell that he really wanted Tim Heidecker to like him, and hey, who wouldn't? And I just think that's really interesting. He was trying to establish, and because as he says in that interview, like for years he was the joke. Everyone regarded Howie Mandel as like, before Carrot Top, he was Carrot Top. And so we want to look at some of the movies that Howie Mandel starred in.
So he had like a streak where they're like, is Howie Mandel a star? Like, is this what people want? So we will be checking out A Fine Mess, which is a Blake Edwards, Pink Panther classic comedy director. Him and Ted Danson. Geez, cursed cast.
But this is A Fine Mess is, I guess you could say, Howie Mandel's only auteur film.
Yes.
Like, unless you count Gremlins.
Yeah, I don't count that one. He showed up for one day to like, hey, it's Howie Mandel.
Then we're going to watch his iconic Beetlejuice ripoff, Little Monsters.
Yes. But
he's the monster.
He's a monster. As Howie Mandel said every time he looks at himself in the mirror, I am the monster. And we cannot forget, he got one, like, Howie Mandel stars in this movie. Walk Like a Man,
where he plays a dog.
Is he a dog that's turned into a man?
Or is it like a Freaky Friday kind of body switch situation?
I think he was raised by wolves. I'm looking here. A feral man raised by wolves is reunited by his family.
Oh, it's like the enigma of Casper Hauser.
And will we also watch Howie Mandel North American Watusi tour? We gotta.
Yeah, well, we're going to look into his stand-up because I'm actually coming into this with an open mind and an open heart. I want to find the poetry in Howie Mandel.
How has Howie Mandel just lasted as long as he has? So Deal or No Deal was a thing that kind of like put him in the spotlight again, right?
Yeah, that was his big comeback. And then since then, he's had something because he's perpetually.
Is he on America's Got Talent?
He's one of the judges, yeah.
Wild. Why Howie Mandel?
Yeah.
I mean, we saw him in the flesh at the Canadian Screen Awards.
Well, let's save that story.
We'll save it. I think we told it in many years.
We've probably told it many times.
But like just the idea of him like in that Chop and Steel documentary being like, I love these guys, like these experimental comedy
I'd like to work with them. He said that.
Work in what capacity, Howie?
I know.
It's fascinating. I want to dig deep in this.
And he is like as rich as you can be.
Yes. He could do anything if he wanted.
He owns so much property in LA.
Yeah.
And he can do anything, but he's not Tim Heidecker, is he?
No.
And that burns
Could this be the episode that breaks Howie Mandel of shell? That he listens to it, tears streaming down his cheeks when we do it. He's like, you know what? I got to do better.
I'm not here to roast him.
No.
Well, it might happen, but
I want to lift him up.
I actually kind of want to see. I also want to answer the question of like, why did he become popular in the first place?
Yes. And I mean, what led to his failure? I don't think that will be too hard to ascertain.
And anyway, he has more money than God now, so it's fine.
So Howie, We hope you're listening. You're a dedicated Important Cinema Club listener. Boost that Patreon subscription. And we'll see you next week. Until then, my name's Justin Decloux.
I'm Will Sloan.
Thanks for listening. As per usual, I would like to thank some of our new patrons, who include Mason Colburn, Kemble McClure, Trav, EO, Brian Hammonds, Alex Helms, Bennett, Ben Dowie, Ian Bennett, Ty, Alan Butt, Aaron Pro Color, Joe Signorelli, Greg Eggbean, 1 Second Before, and Robbie Carley. Thank you very much for becoming patrons. We could not keep doing this without you.
I recently assembled a list, Justin, of contemporary Chinese movies that I've seen in downtown Toronto multiplexes.
Okay. You went through all the movies that you just probably went mainland China. What's there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mainland China, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Yeah. I did those lists, and basically from like the last 10 years, stuff that I've been to see in movie theaters. It's a sorry list. But I just want to do a kind of like rapid fire, because a lot of these we've seen together.
Yes.
And I just want to know, what do you remember about them?
Okay. What about in the cinematic experience, if you will?
So I'm going back early from 2014, Kung Fu Jungle with Donnie Yen. What do you remember about it?
I remember it was supposed to bring all the actors together. It stars the guy that's in Story of Riccio. He's the villain of the film. I don't like the film very much. Glad to see all these old faces up on screen. Did not see that one in theaters.
Ip Man 3.
We did see that one together, didn't we?
Which one was that? Ooh. Was that the Mike Tyson one?
Yes. Wait, was it? Yes, because the fourth one is the Scott Adkins one.
Yes.
So did we see Ip Man 3 together? I think
we saw both together. I do.
And that, I remember that it's very funny that neither Ip Man nor Mike Tyson can lose in the fights that they have.
So here's one. This is one of my favorite experiences out of all these. Remember when we went to see From Vegas to Macau 3?
Yes, of course. One
mean,
of the great screenings.
We've been to see Wong Jing movies, but this is a Wong Jing movie.
The pure Wong Jing movie. So From Vegas to Macau is a side sequel to God of Gamblers, mostly because there's rules now that you can't gamble, or at the time, in mainland Chinese films. So Chow Yun-fat was playing a new character, but in this particular film, the God of Gambler character also exists, so you had two Chow Yun-fats.
And remember, God of Gamblers is like one of the most popular Hong Kong movies of the 80s.
And all I remember about this movie is that Chow Yun-fat had to pretend to be the other character in the film, and also it ended with two CGI Transformers fighting. I don't remember how we got there, but that's how the film ended.
I just remember having such a great time. It's one of the times when we've gone to see one of our Hong Kong heroes.
Yeah.
This is one of the few times.
The purest times. Yeah.
One of the few times when it felt like, yes, this is him working at full blast.
It was bad.
Maybe not full blast, but like, it didn't just feel like crumbs. Okay, do you have any memory of Gordon Chan's God of War from 2017?
I did, because we saw it at because we saw it with Colin Geddes.
Did we?
We did, yes. And it wasn't at the downtown cinema.
No, it was at Yonge and Dundas, and
I don't think it was Yonge and Dundas.
Sammo Hung is in it, though.
No, yes, I believe it was at the Bloor Cinema that we saw it.
Really?
Yes, it was at another cinema. And I remember because I leaned over to you and I was like, isn't this awesome? We could see it on the big screen. And you went, yeah, but it's bad. And if you saw that movie now, it would be like 3.5. You would love it compared to the trash we get now.
So do you have any memory of... Wait, I don't think I saw this one with you. Golden Job. Do you know what Golden Job is?
I did see it with you. Yes, that is a late, kind of like a take on Aces Go Places.
It's a heist movie.
Yes, and it has a gold car that's CGI.
Yes.
It was directed by a action choreographer, Clarence Falk. No, that's a director of Naked Killer.
Wait a minute, we can find this out. Shin Kao-lok.
Shin Kao-lok, who directed No Problem 2. He's the guy who does the spin kick in Dragons Forever, the famous one that it makes it look like Jackie's doing, but I believe he's the one who's doing it in that movie.
Jackie doesn't do all his own stuff?
Holy shit, yeah. I remember that movie being not good. You know what? I don't think I saw this one with you. I think I saw it with Alex Chung. And that's why you may have gone by yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. Now, why did I go by myself to see this?
Probably because I said I saw it, and you were like, I need to see it too. And I probably didn't see it with you because I was like, I know this is going to be bad.
Okay, so I'm going to give you two more.
Yeah.
The Leakers. Do you have any memory of this?
The Leakers. It's a Herman Yao film.
You got it.
And it's it was a virus movie.
That's right.
Very bad, not good.
Okay, and do you remember this one, The Climbers? Of course you do.
Of course I do. This was it wasn't Donnie Yen. It was a Derek not Derek Yee. What?
Daniel Lee is
Daniel
the
Lee,
director.
the director of Black Mask. Yeah.
And he also directed Dragon Blade with Jackie Chan and Adrian Brody.
Delightful movie we did not see in theaters. We saw it at my house.
That's right.
But I remember this film because they advertised Jackie Chan being in it, but we knew going in Jackie Chan was only going to show up in the last 30 seconds of the movie.
Most of it was a sort of like patriotic blockbuster about the first Chinese mountaineering team to climb Mount Everest.
Yes. Now, you're mentioning some movies that we saw that aren't on there. Like we saw, what was the Clockmakers was one that we saw.
Yeah, that was a more recent one. That was
Bleeding Edge, the Jackie Chan film.
Bleeding Steel.
Which is burned in my memory because Peter Kaplowski left halfway through. And we were like, how can you leave, Peter?
I know. The clock movie was The Moon Thieves.
Yes. What else had we saw a lot of Herman Yao. We saw that recently, that Russian one.
Moscow Mission. Did I see The Goldfinger with you with Tony Leung?
Yes.
I
did not like it at all.
Yeah, it was bad. A kind of Wolf of Wall Street sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. What memories of the movies that play at Yonge and Dundas?
Man, we got to go see another one soon.
Like, the issue is that, like, all the filmmakers, their movies that are coming out, they're dying, and they're not really doing any more theatrically like that anymore because they're all streaming films, unfortunately. But whatever new big, hey, and you also missed The Wandering Earth, which we saw, and got us the most hate mail we've ever gotten.
Oh shit, I don't have that on the list. I have to add that.
But we
right
did
now.
see that together, The Wandering Earth, which we gave a tepid video review in the brief window when we were doing those. Holy shit, those YouTube comments are insane.
In fairness, I didn't know what I was talking about.
But it's bad. It was a bad movie. Like,
yeah.
Do you think you would have been more polite if you had known that, like, it was going to bring down the ire of mainland China?
I don't care. I don't care.
I wonder if that still happens, because that happened with that, and it happened with my 3-star review of the Battle of Lake Changji. Just like, I deleted that review because I was like, I don't want to look at these comments anymore. And at the time I was getting them on my phone. I was like, oh my God. It went on for months.
That's why I've turned off comments. I just assume everyone agrees with me.
And they do. Otherwise, they'd comment.
That's right.
Because their opinion would be good enough that you'd be following them, so they could comment.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if there is local mainland Chinese slot playing near you, it is your patriotic duty to go see it.
Mm-hmm.